Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kurtivada. In this video, we will learn about request headers and how to pass a custom request headers for our HTTP services in Angular. Let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code to understand this request headers. So here, this is a continuation of my previous videos. Please watch that for better understanding. Here, I'll just summarize what we have did in our previous video. So I have created a service, and inside this service I created one method. That method returns an observable, and that observable is nothing but our get request from our HTTP service, and that will be subscribed in our component level. So now what I want to do is I want to pass some request headers. Before passing the request headers, we'll understand what exactly the request headers and where we can see that request headers. So request headers are something like you can pass some set of customized request headers into our request, and that can be used in our backend for some set of validation or some set of error handling. So now let me go into our network call, and you can see here to dos. We spoke about this general one where you will be seeing the URL and the status and the method whatever we are using for our request API. Now we have something called as request headers. Request headers also have some set of properties by default. These are inbuilt headers whatever we are using on our Chrome. Now I want to pass some external token or some external property to this header. Example, authorization. Whenever you want to pass some set of authorization token, you will be using request headers to pass that authorization token. How to pass that authorization token in this particular request? Let's go and check. Let me go here, and here you can do it by using HTTP headers. There is something called as HTTP headers. So now let me create an object for that HTTP headers. So let me use const headers is equal to, I'll create new HTTP headers, and this is something like a constructor, and inside this constructor we can pass any values whatever we want. For example, I want to pass authorization for now. So let me write in a key pair value authorization, and you can pass any value over here. Let me use something like sample auth token, and I want to pass these headers to this particular request. Whenever you want to pass that particular headers into a particular request, you can use something like an object which is like a second parameter. This second parameter is an optional parameter for our get URL. Inside the get URL, whenever you want to pass some set of options, you can use this particular object. Inside this, I want to pass only headers, and this headers is equivalent to the headers whatever we have over here. Let me make it as HTTP headers, and I'll pass this HTTP headers to this. Save this. Now this particular authorization will be passed to this headers as an object, and that will be shown in our request headers. Let me go here and reload. Now you got to dos, and inside this to dos, if you go down, you can see something like authorization, and the authorization is something whatever we are passing over there. That value can be anything based on your requirement, but here my motivation is to show how you want to pass this authorization. Now for example, this is something like authorization, we are creating it and we are passing the data, but in some places you maybe need to update this object or update this HTTP headers. For that sake, this HTTP header class is giving some set of methods for us. For example, HTTP headers dot, there is a method called as set, which will help us to set the value for this particular headers. I want to add something called as channel, and I want to add some value called as texture skk, and save this. Now whenever you are using a set method, if you use directly this HTTP headers, it will not send in your request. Let me go here, go to dos, and if you see here, it didn't went in your headers. Why? Because whenever you are using a set method or any of the method in your HTTP headers, that will not update the current object or current reference. Instead, it will return a new object. So let me use something like updated headers, and this updated headers I can pass over here, so that it will have the initialized values as well as the updated values in our object. Let me go here and clear this off, just reload and click this. You can see the channel ID, whatever you want, you can pass. And there is something called as append as well. Let me use append. Set is something like whenever you have the key, then it will update the value. But append is something like if you already have the value and the key, then it will update the value alone. Let me go here. Let me clear this off, reload, click this, and you can see the channel over here, texture SKK. For example, I have this 2 times. Copy this and put it over here, something like a channel with a ID, something like channel name, and save this. Now I am using append. Let me clear this off, reload, and go here, and you can see here the channel is channel name and appended with texture. So if you are using a channel property, if that property already exists, it will update that property along with this value by comma separated. If you see here, the channel name is the initial value of the channel, and I am using append. So it is appending this texture. For example, instead of using append, if you use a set, then what it will do is already it has the key, so it will replace the value. Instead of appending it, it will replace the value. Let me go here and reload, and you can see here, just go to the channel and it is replaced with texture SKK. That is the difference between set and append method of your HTTP headers. There is one more method. If you want to get the value of a particular header, then you can use http headers dot get, and you can pass key. Let me pass this channel over here, and we are using a set, so you will be having the last updated value, that is nothing but texture SKK. Let me go here, go to the console, and you can see the channel name. Okay, so now why you are seeing channel name? Because we are not using updated headers. I have to use updated headers, and you can use the get method on the updated headers, then you can get the texture SKK. Here you can see texture SKK. So that is about get. So this is very simple example where you can pass the HTTP headers to your particular service. But there is a possibility where you need HTTP response headers. So if you see here in the network call, you have to-dos and you have a response headers. When we will use this response headers? For example, if you want to download some file and if you want to get that file name from your server, then server will not send directly in your preview. Instead, they may be sending that particular key or the string or the static data inside this response headers. Then at that particular time, you can capture these response headers as well in your observable, that is HTTP services observable. So you can get that, and I'll show you that how to get these response headers in the upcoming videos. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.